Okay, in this video we're going to make checkpoints to our game. So one of the first things I need to do is I need to go to the game controller and create a variable. And in the create event of the game controller, so when the game controller is created, I'm going to go to the control tab and select variable, and I'm going to make a variable called check point. And I'll maybe capitalize the C and capitalize the P. So it's check point. And it's going to be the X position that I want Mario to start at. So what is the first X position? So let me, right now I'm going to leave it at 0 here. But let me go to my room, and I see that my Mario, I had Mario starting here, which is about 160. So I'm going to say Mario's going to start in the room at about 160. And let me go to the Mario, and I'm going to put Mario to actually start at 160. But to be only 2 blocks up for Y. So that would be about 32 up for Y. Okay, so Mario's going to start in the game at about 160. So let's go to Object Game Controller, and I'm going to set the variable checkpoint to be a value of about 160. Okay, so how is this going to work? Well, what's going to happen is in my object Mario, so I now go to my object Mario, and I'm now going to put a create event. So anytime the room starts, Mario is going to be created, and he's going to jump to a position. Y, I'm going to say he's going to be 32 pixels. Oh, sorry. Y position will be about 400. I'll have to find out the correct number. But X is going to be at the game controller object. So I have to type in game controller. So that's the name of the object. And then the value of the game controller is my variable called check point. Okay, and so now anytime Mario starts, he's going to start at 400 down and at position checkpoint of the object game controller. So let me just press play and see if it works. And so I start with the start screen. In the start screen, my game controller is created. A variable inside my game controller called checkpoint is created. And when I go to the next room, that's where Mario starts, at that spot. Okay, the next thing I want to do is if Mario dies, of course, he's going to start back at that same spot because anytime the room restarts. Well, what a checkpoint should do is suppose I make it all the way down. Let me go down my room a little. And suppose in my room, I make it a little bit farther, and maybe I make it down to, I die. I'll make it not too far so you don't have to watch. Suppose I want him to be recreated here, which is at about 1700. Okay, so what I'm going to do is if I ever make it over this here, I want to start at about 1700, 1696. It tells me at the bottom here. So about 1696. And so what I want to do is I'm going to create an object called object checkpoint. And I can give it a sprite. I don't have to. I don't make it solid because I'm just going to go through it. And I'm going to add an event, which is collision with Mario. And so I'm going to say if Mario, so I'm going to test a variable, and the variable is object Mario and its value is X, and I'm going to test that it's larger than 1600. If it's larger than 1600, then what I want to do is I want to change the game controller's variable called checkpoint, and I want to change its value from being 160 now to being 1696. So let's test it out and see if it happens. So what's going to happen is the variable checkpoint is going to change to this value. And so when Mario restarts here, it will happen. So I'm going to put my checkpoint object, and I'm going to select the checkpoint object I made, and I'm going to make a wall of checkpoint. So it's not going to be visible. Oops, I forgot to tell it to be invisible. So we won't see it. It will be invisible, but you'll have to pass this. And so if I hit any of this, I now will make the checkpoint that value. So when I press play here, I'm going to go through, and I'm going to purposely pass this checkpoint and then go back and die. And you're going to see that my Mario, if I die here, the checkpoint is was set at 160, so he restarts here. But if I go farther, so if I pass that, and I go a little bit farther, and I hit the checkpoint, which is right over here, it's invisible, but I'm going to fly through it. And so I've now passed that checkpoint, which is about 1600, and if I die, he's going to restart here now. And so no matter what, because I passed that checkpoint, I'm going to restart at that same spot. Okay? Now what I can do is, suppose I want to have another checkpoint. No problem. Let me go way down here and do another checkpoint. And so same thing, I'll put the checkpoint here. Oops. I'll just make a straight line. I didn't need to make a crooked line. And what I'm going to do now, I'll put some more blocks. And if I die in this stage, this is 3680. So let me go to object checkpoint. And I'm going to say, okay, is my variable X of Mario. So I collide with Mario, and is Mario's variable X larger than, oh shoot, what did I say that was? 3000 something. So I'll put a smaller value because I know it's going to be bigger than 3200. So if it's larger than 3200, I think it was 36, then I'm going to say, let's set the variable of the game controller's checkpoint to a value of 3600. And so now if it dies, if I pass the first one, it'll set the checkpoint to 1600. And if I pass the second one, it'll make the restart spot at about 3600. And that's how we do it. And you can have as many of these as you want. Notice, I always need to put the same Y position. So if it's going to restart here, what did I say, at 3600? 3600 is right here. So it's going to restart right here. I can't have the wall that high because I said the Y variable is just 2 blocks up. So I need to make sure my when he restarts at 3600, whatever position I put there, it's only two blocks high. So 3600 is right here. So here's where it'll restart. So let me actually I'm going to make it a bit more real. I'm going to put the checkpoint around 3600. So I'll put the checkpoint right here at 3584. So here's a wall of checkpoint. And in object checkpoint, it says if you pass the first one, set it to 1600. If you pass the next one, which is about 3600, then set the checkpoint to 3600. And that's how you do it.